So we are recording the session. Otherwise, let's do the things to be done. We'll get started with AUDCAD. So on AUDCAD, we're basically just going to be updating our analysis from last week. Higher time frame, things stay the same as usual. Nothing really pretty much changes. But to just recap, just have a look at it. All we have higher time frame is we've got some momentum to the upside. We've got a corrective structure, and we're looking to trade in the direction of this new momentum that has managed to break our corrective structure to the upside, and as well as break this previous resistance over here and give us a new higher high. We did reject, and obviously we went down, but nonetheless, we created a new higher high. So that's basically just our higher time frame structure that we're looking at. Coming to just the most recent price action. Most recent price action, basically what we are focused on is we've got this momentum, right? We want to trade in the direction of this momentum. So naturally, so we're looking at a corrective structure forming inside of this area over here. What we had was we had these equal lows, obviously this low here and this low here. And what we've been expecting was what, or at least what we wanted to see was we wanted to see price action basically break below these equal lows, then obviously form some sort of a reversal structure below here, below the equal lows. Obviously then we prepare to look for our upside continuation. Now if we go down onto a 4-hour, or at least while we're on the daily, let's just conclude that we still do have a bullish bias. Our bias is still basically in the direction, or we're still looking to basically just trade in direction of this momentum. We still want to be biased in this case. Maybe if we were to add something about our daily structure over here, maybe let's also just consider this. I know we've got 4-hour POIs down inside of this area here and down below here. Yes, on a daily time frame, this is our supply over here. We want to obviously trade inside of this 4-hour POI. But then obviously, yes, we don't have a 4-hour POI inside of here, but this is also some sort of a supply. We can see price did create a resistance, price did create a support. Then obviously we managed to break this small resistance and as well as this resistance up here. So as much as maybe we don't have a momentum shift, the type of momentum shift that we'd be looking at or that we'd like to look at and want to trade by, but it is still an area of supply. Market did still find supply inside of this area, obviously enough supply to manage, or to at least to be able to break some resistance areas. So what I want us to do, maybe to just add to our overall bias and what we're looking for, let's also in the space of next week be looking, okay, I've already marked it out, but we'll go down on a 4-hour and we'll speak about it. But nonetheless, we've got this low over here. Let's just look for reversal structures, obviously below this low. We do understand, oh Jesus, why did my thing go up so high? So what I want to do is, while I'm looking for reversal structures below this low, if my reversal structures obviously terminate above this support over here, I'll be looking for them to terminate in some form of a structure. I need a double bottom, I need a descending structure, I need something that gives me a POI, that gives me a point of interest inside of here to be able to trade. Otherwise, if price action does end up breaking this low, then we know that, okay, cool, we're just setting up that overall setup that we've been looking for the longest of time. This is our first momentum shift. We're looking for longs inside there. This is our last momentum shift. We're looking for longs inside here, obviously to continue in the direction of this higher time frame momentum. Doesn't mean we can't sell if there's a sell or whatever the case is. We're just speaking about our higher time frame bias, and obviously we want to trade in the direction of the probabilities. So at any point in time, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to trade where the higher time frame traders are trading. Nonetheless, let's speak about our 4-hour structure. So on our 4-hour structure, what I want to do is I do want to update our structure just a little bit, but in terms of this update, what I want us to wait for is I want us to wait for a break of this support over here. So we've got this low that we obviously spoke about while we were on a daily, and all we're looking for is actually for price action to break this low, and then obviously we focused on reversal structures just below this low over here. But for us to adjust our trend line, you see this resistance trend line, for us to be able to adjust this resistance trend line and include this as a high, what we need obviously is for price action to confirm a swing high. The swing high is only confirmed once price action breaks the previous swing low. So obviously all we got to do is exercise patience. Price is right here. We're just waiting for price action to basically just break the support. And then once price action breaks the support, then we're good to go. Let me plug it on this side. Thank you, man. Cool. Let's continue, guys. Apologies, I was just plugging my phone here just so we can charge while we're doing the things to be done. But otherwise, yes. So what we're going to do to obviously, we are speaking about adjusting our resistance trend line. For us to be able to include this high here as part of our structure, obviously we need to wait for price action to break this support. And once we've broken this support, then the swing high is confirmed. We can then obviously adjust our resistance trend line and include for this resistance over here. Maybe I'll just leave it like this, just because probably by the time we wake up on Monday, price probably might break this low over here because we like right there. But otherwise, this is our bias. This is all we're looking for. Maybe let me just be a little bit more informative and detailed about why I'm still bullish. In as much as this market is still selling off, why am I still bullish? Okay, let's look at our 4-hour structure, right? We look at our major structure, just focused on our structure. Or maybe before we get into our structure, let's be a little bit educational. There's 2 types of trends, right? We can be in a downtrend like this. This is a downtrend. And this is a downtrend as well. This is also a downtrend. But we can see the 2 different types. The market is moving differently in both cases, but it's still a downtrend. So obviously I've got rules for everything that I'm doing that classify, that help me understand what environment am I trading in. That's what I'm trying to do at any point in time. The reason why I'm looking at structures, chart patterns, momentum shift, whatever, is I want to identify an environment that I'm trading in. My environment must give me information, and outside of that, my environment must give me areas and obviously indications and obviously whatever for me to be able to do the things to be done and call myself a trader at the end of the month or at the end of whenever. So otherwise, going back to our trends, we've got this market. We can see that price action broke support. Obviously, support was treated as resistance. Price action did not break back above this low after we broke that low. If we look obviously at this trend, we can see that every low that price action breaks, we break back above that low. So I've got 2 different ways to classify a trend. This is an impulsive trend. This is a corrective trend. If I'm in a corrective environment, does this tell me anything? Yes, it does. It tells me that yes, there is obviously movement in one direction. We're making lower lows and lower highs. But are we doing that impulsively? Is there momentum behind the fact that we are in this downtrend? No, because of fact that we are breaking our supports in a corrective manner. So that's kind of basically my observation in this case over here. We've got this support here. We obviously broke that support. We broke back above. But even if we look at the 4-hour structure itself, every support that we have, we broke below, we broke back above. We broke below, we broke back above. We broke, no. Every support that we've broken in a corrective manner. So what that is telling me is that yes, we're making lower lows, lower highs, but we are still doing so in a corrective manner. If we're doing so in a corrective manner, I should be looking for a corrective structure, because the environment we're in is we are in a corrective environment. We are not in an impulsive environment right now. So otherwise, let's just delete all of this stuff here. I hope someone learned something. Otherwise, let's continue. I'm still 100% bullish. Obviously, if we don't get that reversal structure that forms inside of here, that gives us a nice, or at least some nice probabilities for us to be able to go long, then we're waiting for price action to basically just tap into our PRIs, and we're bullish on AUDCAD. Let's go on to some AJ, see if AJ, AJ, perfect entry, perfect exit. Perfect entry, perfect exit. Otherwise, let's do the things to be done and update our structure here. Yeah, let me delete this as well. We don't need that anymore. Cool. So on AJ, what we're basically doing is we're trying to hedge AJ. There's a lot of, I don't know where these yen buyers are coming from, but there's a lot of yen buyers on Friday. We just saw all the JPY quote pairs exploding to the upside. Those that are in the GJ buy, yo, I know you guys are like excited. Beautiful trade, guys. Any one of you guys that are in these JPY code pairs in the buys, damn, that's a lot of momentum. I so wish I was in there. But otherwise, AJ, what we're doing on AJ is we're trying to trade in the direction of our high time frame bias, our weekly bias, you can even say, because on a higher time frame, this is the touch of a structure, and then as well as the touch of a structure, we've got deceleration. And then obviously we've got characteristics of a downtrend. We see market creating lower lows and lower highs, and then just most recent structure, we've got momentum that managed to give us a new lower low. Cool, we're doing so in a corrective manner, but this is the last daily momentum, and obviously after we see this momentum, we find ourselves taking a lot longer to move up then we did move down. So obviously we're trading in the direction of this momentum, this being our impulse, this being our corrective structure. We're bearish. That's kind of the reason why we were looking for our sells last week, maybe just to reference. But what update can we give about this week? So let's just update structure. What we're going to delete first is obviously this POI here. It's clear, price tapped into that POI. We got the sell side momentum. It's done and dusted, all good, cool. We move on with life. Now, moving on. There's two case scenarios that I'm looking at here on AJ. One case scenario is basically a setup for maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday. We'll see what price action does. The next setup that we're going to be looking for is just in general for the week. This is our higher time frame bias. This is a nice POI, everything. Let's talk about the structure instead of me just saying we're going to be. Otherwise, looking at the structure here, cool. We said we already mentioned that we're trading in the direction of this momentum here. We've got a daily POI over there, which also we refined down to a 4-hour. Cool. We've got some sell side momentum. We've also got this 4-hour POI there that obviously aligns with the previous support that was broken. Obviously, we can retest at a future point in time. So going down onto our 4-hour, let's speak about the two types of setups that I'm going to be looking for next week. So the first setup is what I was looking for to scale in. If you guys remember, after we got the entry inside of here, obviously market decided to stall a little bit. And what we done, obviously, we were going to be looking for a scale in on the sell that we were in. Obviously, and we were going to be scaling in inside of this POI. I think it's on a 15-minute, I'm not sure, but we won't go down below 1 hour, so it doesn't really matter. We had a POI inside of here that we were looking for, obviously, the continuation to the downside. Have we maybe completed this overall structure? I wouldn't know, because we can adjust our structure. I think last week what we did was we didn't add a resistance trend line. Remember, I told you guys that we're not going to trade with a resistance trend line, but rather we'll use our levels of structure. The reason why we won't add this resistance trend line is because anyone can argue which resistance they choose to use out of these three resistances here. And whichever resistance you choose to use, you are right. According to my criteria, I could use this resistance over here, this first highest one over here, because there's a lot of momentum that managed to break structure. Is there not momentum that pushed away from here that also managed to break structure? Is there not a lot of momentum here that also pushed that managed to break structure? So even according to my rules, I could be right no matter which resistance I chose to use here. So that's why I was like, okay, cool, guys, let's not use a resistance trend line here, because we don't want to force ourselves to either prematurely enter a position, or maybe we waiting for something that price is going to drop from here, but we're waiting for something up here. Let's rather function on our horizontal support and resistance. And obviously we use nature's theory to help us confirm the price action. Now looking at what's going on here. The first setup, obviously, that I was going to speak about is, since we had this impulsive move to the downside, on a smaller time frame, yes, we did break a couple of levels of structure. So obviously we can try and find a momentum shift, or at least some sort of a reversal from this POI over here. This is the first setup that I'm going to try and find if we do present something like that. One thing that I want to point out is that price action is obviously impulsing to an area where we want to do the opposite thing. We want to sell. Market is showing us that there's someone somewhere in the world that is willing to buy AJ, and willing to buy AJ very much aggressively. So obviously what I need to wait for me to be able to take an entry at this POI here is for a reversal structure, either a double top, a resistor, a rising something, a head and shoulders. Any chart pattern that terminates inside of this POI will still give me a good and well valid entry. I just need to wait for a reversal structure. Otherwise, let's get into the higher time frame setup that I'm going to be looking at for next week. Let me just do this, delete this resistance trend line there, maybe also all of this nonsense. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing for next week is I'm going to be using my most recent structure, the most recent structure that I have. And obviously, since I can clearly see that every resistance that I have, I've got resistance over here, price broke above, we broke below. I've got resistance over here, price broke above, we broke below. Obviously, we are making higher highs and higher lows, but we're doing so in a corrective manner. Since I am in some sort of a corrective environment, my eyes are already focused on trying to find a corrective structure. Since we're in some sort of an uptrend, making those higher highs and higher lows, Come on, man. This advert is disturbing me. Cool. Since we're making higher highs and higher lows, obviously we identify as whatever uptrend we can try and identify. And then obviously, in terms of our resistance trend line, you can choose whichever resistance you want to use. You'd be right, whether you're looking for first touch, second touch, and a third touch there, whether you're looking for first touch, second touch, and a third touch there. Whichever resistance you choose, you'd be right. What I want to do is I just want to do what feels comfortable for me. And using this resistance over here just feels comfortable because it aligns with most of the touches, just feels comfortable. It looks right. Otherwise, point being, what we have here is we've got some sort of confluence, right? We've got an area where we've got this nice 4-hour POI. You guys can see the nice big bearish engulfing over there. Nice momentum shift that managed to break a couple of levels of structure. We've got that POI that sort of aligns with this resistance trend line where we obviously have multiple touches or multiple reactions. What I want to do is I can exercise patience and wait for price action to come and give me a high value, better probability, better risk to reward entry, much higher in a better end area, obviously, because there's a couple of confluences that align in that area. Then obviously we wait to swing AJ to the downside in the direction of our high time frame, obviously our high time frame setup, which is obviously bearish. So on AJ, I am still trying to be a seller. Yes, we ate, but we didn't eat enough. Just trying to trade in direction of the high time frame structure. Maybe we didn't eat enough. We're still in a corrective structure. We can still have the momentum to the downside. So if we do see that momentum, this is obviously the setup that we're looking at. Nice ascending structure, impulse correction. Obviously, we're looking to trade the next impulse to the downside. Let's move on to some AU. So what I did was very much intentional. We spent a lot of time on the pairs that are going to be giving us slightly higher value setups. Then obviously we're going to be very quick with the pairs that are not really going to be giving us much. So AU is doing the things to be done. We were trying to buy AU. We're still trying to buy AU. Obviously, we're looking for the setup. Cool. Let's just speak about the overall structure. So AU structure, higher time frame, looks very much like AUDCAD in a sense that higher time frame, we've got some momentum to the upside. This is obviously our overall corrective structure. And then we're waiting for that next momentum to hopefully break this higher time frame corrective structure. If we look at the overall structure, I think most recent structure, we also spoke about some sort of an inverse head and shoulders. So if we just look at price action from here, we've got this low over here. Obviously, we've got our head, and then price action completely reverses, gives us a new higher high. And obviously, all we're waiting for here is our higher low in preparation for price action to obviously complete this young inverse head and shoulders, which also aligns with our overall higher time frame impulse, correction, impulse. So that's kind of the reasons why we're basically trying to find, or at least we would like to align ourselves on the bullish side of things, because there's better risk to reward ratio, there's better probabilities, and then also the price action just makes sense to align yourself bullish, higher time frame. Coming to just the most recent price action, guys, just the most recent price action. What we were looking for last week, I think we did have 2 POIs. I just don't remember where they were. I deleted them obviously when price action just wasn't respecting the POIs, but I think one was here, and then I think we had a lower POI somewhere inside of here. But price action did break those POIs with momentum, so there wasn't even a setup for us to look at. We just had to just adjust and just wait. But higher time frame, basically what we're looking at is we're looking for that right shoulder formation, right? So looking at the overall structure, we've got this momentum shift here. On a daily, we can see that the momentum shift basically starts from up here. So as long as price action comes down towards the support trend line over here, I'll be trying to find my buys. All I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for a structure, a chart pattern that allows me to enter. There's a touch here. Maybe we'll see some sort of 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch structure, and then we buy. Whatever the case is, I don't know. No one knows. We'll never know. Whoever tells you that they know what the market is going to do, they're 100% lying to you. What we are doing in actual sense is we're creating contingencies, plans to say that this is the structure, these are the facts. Our analysis are the facts. Our forecasting is our preparation to obviously trade the facts that we are looking at. So I'm saying by doing analysis, I'm saying these are the facts. 1, 2, 3 inverse head and shoulders, X, Y, and Z. My forecast is saying that if price action does X, Y, and Z, then I will be able to make a profitable, or at least a decision that has probabilities on my side. That's what I'm doing by forecasting. I'm not forecasting to say that this is what the market will do, but a forecast is my plan on responding to the market environment. If the market environment plays out the way I expect it to play out, then this is how I will respond. But nonetheless, let's not digress into things that are not so very much important. If we just look at the 4-hour structure, obviously, yes, impulse corrective structure, whatever the case is there. What I'm doing is I'm exercising patience. Market still looks like there is some momentum. We are at some sort of a support or whatever the case is. So we are going to be looking at things. But for now, there's no chart pattern that I want to isolate. I don't want to force things and then make us take a premature entry. So what we're going to be doing is just waiting to see if something nice and large happens inside of this area over here. And if something does happen, then obviously I'll send you guys an update and then we'll adjust the structure and we'll trade the buy if the buy comes. But on AU, I'm still bullish. I'm still going to exercise patience. Yeah, I'm not going to sell AU now. If we ever wanted to be a seller, we should have been sellers up high. Now we're at support. Obviously, we can't sell into a support. Let's go on to New Zealand dollar CAD. So New Zealand dollar CAD is playing with us. Let's delete this. Cool. So we are looking for buys, right? We are looking for buys, but she is not impulsing to the upside. We're seeing momentum to the downside. So yes, everything is exactly the same as last week. We've got this resistance over there. Obviously, price action is at the resistance. We've got an impulse. We've got a correction. So we're looking for that next impulsive move that obviously completes at the 90% rule of the structure. In accordance with our high time frame momentum, which is obviously to the upside, we can all see these buyers here. We want to trade in the direction of these buyers. So if we come to the structure here, let's just look at the most recent structure. This annoying structure. Very, 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 very annoying. If we just look at the structure, you guys can see it clearly looks like we're making those lower lows, those lower highs. We were correcting. Yes, first we were being very much corrective to the downside, but then all of a sudden, momentum came into the market and gave us some very impulsive price action. After we saw this impulsive price action that did give us new lower lows, especially if you just look focused on the 4-hour, this is our last impulse that managed to break a level of structure. If we focus on what's going on here, this does not look like anyone is making decisive decisions on buying New Zealand dollar CAD right now. Looks like people are being very corrective about buying New Zealand dollar CAD right now. So obviously conflicting information, this is giving us more patience, or at least it's forcing us to exercise more patience because the price action just isn't warranting us to make the kind of decision we want to make. Price action is where we want it to be, but the price action is just not playing out. The nature of what's going on is just a little bit dangerous right now for us to be looking for that upside continuation. So all things be, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exercise my patience and wait to see price action come down to a support. There is no POI that I can use here on a 4-hour for us to trade nicely and comfortably at. So all I'm going to do is just wait for the higher time frame setup. We still have this break and a retest area over there. We came close to, we rejected from, but we didn't really tap deeply into it. So we can still come down, give a higher time frame, double bottom, whatever the case is. Cool. All and well be it, I'm still bullish. The reason why there's nothing on this pair is because we're going to have to exercise patience. Let's also remove the one on AU because AU also requires some patience. But let's look at New Zealand dollar yen. We'll see if New Zealand dollar yen is giving us anything. We've been avoiding New Zealand dollar yen for the longest of time. I think we should still avoid it, or at least I think I should still avoid it. Let me just move my chart to one side. So New Zealand dollar yen is basically inside of a higher time frame range. We're stuck, we're moving sideways. And how we've been trading this pair is we've been looking for chart pattern formations. And then obviously chart patterns give us indication of where could the next momentum present itself. Could we see upside? Could we see downside? And right now, there's just a whole lot of confusion. It kind of looks almost the same as AJ, but a little bit more confusing in a sense that we are seriously chopping and we are chopping with momentum in both directions. So I'm going to just exercise patience on this pair. I don't want to unnecessarily lose money. Let's just go on to US30. Cool. So on US30, if you guys remember what we said is we're going to be using US30 to try and plan contingencies for sells, and we were going to be using NASDAQ to try and plan contingencies for buys because we want to be safe. The environment is very confusing right now. People are buying, people are selling, people are scared, people are not scared. People are just being taken for a ride. there's a lot of uncertainty happening right now. And if markets are going to be buying, we want to be in on these indices. And we're going to be using US30 NASDAQ to try and find those contingencies, because obviously, okay, wait, not obviously, because tech is a little bit iffy right now. If you guys are following the news, Meta is going to be firing thousands of more people. So tech might be a little bit weird right now, but obviously we rely on tech. Tech in all times kind of just does a little bit better than banking and finance and everything else. So otherwise, we're looking for tech, obviously, to send us higher, and then obviously US30 would have been our contingencies for sales. So just to recap and remind ourselves what we're doing, if this is going to work, let it work. If it doesn't work, cool. It is what it is. We live and we learn. Cool. Just get into the analysis here. So basically on US30, what we were looking at was this corrective structure. Cool. We agreed that we inside some sort of a complex looking structure. We don't know what the structure is, but how we're going to be trying to trade this structure is we're going to be isolating chart patterns, because those chart patterns will give us an indication of where the next momentum could be. If there are no chart patterns, then we obviously just identify the structure, and the structure will tell us what environment we're currently trading in. Now, if we just look at here, this 4-hour structure, let's not let it confuse us. Let's even delete all of this nonsense inside, because it's not going to contribute to our overall, analysis. If we just look at what's going on here, we have our characteristics of an uptrend, which is higher highs and higher lows. We have characteristics of a downtrend, which is lower lows and lower highs. I see higher highs and higher lows being formed here. I see lower lows and lower highs being formed here. So obviously, if I don't have consecutive higher highs and higher lows, and if I don't have consecutive lower lows and lower highs, then that means price has no direction, because it doesn't fulfill my criteria of an uptrend. I can't call this an uptrend. It doesn't fulfill my criteria of a downtrend. I can't call this a downtrend. Conclusion of all that of all that rambling is that US30 is right now stuck inside some sort of chop. We're moving sideways. However we want to cut the spade, we're moving sideways. There is no direction in this nonsense that's going on here. All we've got to do, or all we've got to be for us to be able to make decisions, are our horizontal levels of structure. So if I'm just taking into account context, where am I? I'm at some sort of a resistance. Where's the support of this structure over here? There's the support of this structure. Let's just delete this because it's going to confuse us. Delete this as well. Cool. I'm stuck inside some sort of a range. This is the low of the range. This is the high of the range. What do I do at the high of the range? At the high of the range, I should be looking for sell side positions, and at the low of the range, I should be looking for buy side positions. What I can see is that price action came here fairly impulsively. So there's no way I'm going to be that brave and just decide to sell into all of these buyers. What I need to be waiting for to be able to sell is I need to be waiting for a chart pattern. If I don't find a chart pattern that gives me a sell, then I will find a chart pattern that gives me a buy. Why am I hoping, or why am I assuming that there's going to be a chart pattern? Because after every impulsive move comes some sort of a corrective structure. Our corrective structure will either be one of two things. Market is very limited in the things that the market can do. My corrective structure will either be one, a continuation corrective structure for momentum to continue higher, or my corrective structure will be two, a reversal structure in preparation for lower prices. So it doesn't matter how or what market does here, I'm still going to find a setup. I've got momentum to the upside. I'm at resistance. I can't be a buyer. I'm at resistance, but I can be a seller. Obviously, there's this, I almost called it a reversal structure. This range that we're talking about here, if price action breaks out of the range and breaks back into the range, is that not warranting me to be a seller? Because context, where am I? I'm still at the high of the range. I can still find sell side positions at the high of the range. If I want to be a buyer, let's just talk about this. If I want to be a buyer, where should I be looking to buy? I should be looking to buy, obviously, at the low of the range. If I don't find an entry at the low of the range, remember what I just said, that a chart pattern will give us an indication of where the next momentum will be. A chart pattern can also produce and give us new areas of probability to be able to take a buy. So obviously, if we find a three-touch structure, yes, there's no probabilities right now. There's no momentum shift here. But do the probabilities not increase when we get a three-touch structure that gives us a nice third touch to use as a point of interest or whatever the case is, the probabilities change. So US30, what I want to say is I am prepared to take trades in both directions. I am still primarily trying to sell US30. My eyes are still trying to sell US30, but I will allow myself to buy US30 if US30 does give me obviously continuation to the upside. There's no reason why not. Let's go on to some NASDAQ. So US30, the reason why there's no POIs there, we are in an impulsive phase. You know, I don't chase the market. We wait for things to slow down, or at least my strategy. My strategy in a nutshell is I trade corrective structures in preparation for the next market momentum. My whole strategy in a nutshell. I'm not trying to chase the market. Once the momentum is there, my strategy should have been efficient enough to be able to allow me to be in. If I'm not in while that momentum is there, it means I'm chasing the market. It means my strategy wasn't or didn't allow me, wasn't good enough, we can say, for me to be able to involve myself in the momentum that I'm looking at right now. So we wait. Let me long story short on NASDAQ, because the analysis looks very similar to US30. I think we'll just be saying the exact same thing times 2. The only difference with NASDAQ is maybe if we go up to a daily, is that if you guys remember, I told you guys that on a daily, this is our last, or on a higher time frame, this is our last resistance, our last supply where we see a source of selling momentum that has managed to break a support, higher time frame. So naturally, so the closer I get to this area, I understand that this is the last higher time frame area of supply. The closer I get here, the more I want to be a seller. All we've done is we've isolated 2 POIs, obviously where we find, or where we'll try and find our probabilities, where our probabilities might increase. Maybe if someone wants to be a little bit stubborn out there and force the position and force what's going on here, we can decide to slap on resistance trend lines and find confluence, and whatever the case is, cool. But what I want to do is let's just use horizontal structure, because things are a little bit iffy right now. We use horizontal structure, and obviously this is our first POI that I'm looking for any sort of sell. Only place I'm going to be looking to sell NASDAQ are at my POIs, not even at this resistance trend line over there. Otherwise, in terms of buys for NASDAQ, remember I told you guys NASDAQ is our contingency for buys. So in terms of buys for NASDAQ, let's be as aggressive as possible, because this is our contingency for buys. If market is going to buy, then let's do the things to be done. With NASDAQ, we're looking at a simple break and a retest. Once market decides to leave this high with some momentum, obviously, if we do come back, we're looking at structure. Any corrective structure that does terminate at a break and a retest, or gives us or increases our probabilities at a break and a retest, will be enough reason for us to continue looking for upside momentum. The only place I'm going to be looking to sell NASDAQ is at our POIs. If there's no chart pattern or no structure that terminates, or if price action doesn't at least correct or slow down as we approach these POIs, then there's nothing I'm going to do. But if price action does give us an entry, this is the only place I'm going to be looking for the sell on NASDAQ. Yeah, so US30 and NASDAQ, I guess, are fairly similar in terms of where they are, context, and what's happening lower time frame price action, or at least we'll say the 4-hour price action. So on both of them, let's give contingencies for both buys and sells. Obviously, market is currently moving. We wait for that corrective structure before we jump in. Last pair, yo. Aren't we thankful that we didn't find an entry inside of here? My heart was a little bit sore after I saw this huge drop here, because I thought maybe head and shoulders, whatever, will continue to the downside. But yeah, it's fine. AJ was the one, not Swisian. AJ was the one last week. Let's just update structure. So all I've done is I've updated. I'm still higher time frame, still looking for the sells. Structure looks very much similar to AJ, so I don't think it'll be a lot of use for us to talk about the higher time frame structure. But cool, we've been correcting, all and well be it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust and accommodate for the new structure that I have there. Let's include for where this corrective structure started. We started up here. We got a second touch there. Cool. Price is at resistance now. We came there impulsively. All I'm doing is, here's my resistance here. If price action breaks back below this resistance, then we're obviously looking for a nice young break and a retest. If price action does not break back below this, the only thing that will give us reason to sell, as long as price action is above this resistance, the only thing that will give us reason to sell is a reversal structure. So we don't know how or what kind of reversal structure will form here. But whatever reversal structure forms at this third touch area, obviously, I'm going to be looking to short SUSIN. SUSIN, very similar to AJ, so I'm not going to go higher time frame. We only have 2 minutes left of the Zoom session. Let me call it a session. See if you guys are all good. I'll see. So I'll just wait for your guys' thumbs up there. But within the 2 minutes, thanks for being part of the session, guys. We're 100% done. Just a recap. AUDCAD, we're obviously bullish on AUDCAD. We're bearish on AJ. We're bullish on AU. New Zealand dollar CAD, we're leaving alone. We're bullish, but it's gonna require some patience. New Zealand dollar yen, we're absolutely not even gonna be touching. US30, we're both bullish and bearish. Obviously, we're waiting for a chart pattern. NASDAQ, we're both bullish and bearish chart pattern. Swiss yen, we're bearish. We need the structure first before we decide to sell because price has been fairly impulsive. So thanks guys for being part of the session. I will upload if you guys were late or whatever the case is. I'm gonna upload the session onto YouTube so you guys will be able to catch up there. Otherwise, let there be peace in the streets. Let our brothers and sisters be safe. Have a great evening, guys.